We say good day to everybody. When the sun is shining so brightly, it feels like it's afternoon already. It's been quite a day. Internet challenges for me. But welcome to day 3 of Global Exhibitions Day, our lunchtime celebrations with the stars of our industry. Those people that work really, really hard on some amazing, amazing exhibitions that we don't get to see so regularly. And this time has afforded us to get to know them on a personal note. And I'm sure you've all been watching, and it's been a fun series this week with some interesting conversations, interesting tips to share. So these people, the final lot for our day 3, have had to dig really deep to come up with some interesting stories for us compared to the ones we've already had. So I'm sure we'll keep you entertained for the next hour. If you're watching, don't forget the chat button is there. So please feel free to participate with us. We want to hear your thoughts. I'm sure you all have questions about these amazing shows that we're going to talk about today. Get some behind the scenes details. We got some fun polls for you that this team has put together as well. Different to the days before, but interesting and funny nevertheless. We're really, really curious to hear your thoughts and get to know you as well. So today I have with me, we've got Ann Dalton, and she's from Cape Town. And it's pretty cold there, I hear. Colder than Johannesburg.
It's a sunny day today, but it's chilly.
There you go. And then we've also got Tracy, and Tracy is from Messe München, and then we've got Cyan Cullingworth from Reed, and we've got Nick Zanata. Oh gosh, Tracy from DMG, sorry. You see, it's been a week, guys. I've had multiple shows. As I said to everybody, internet went down at my house, and luckily I live 10 minutes away, so I did a quick 10-minute dash to the office before we started this. But nevertheless, we've got it going and we're here. So before I fumble anymore, I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. So, Anne, let's start with you.
Hi, okay, I'm Anne from Agri Expo, which is an agricultural society that promotes agriculture to public and also works with the trade, all different trades, to promote agriculture mainly by doing events and exhibitions.
Absolutely. And
we do, the 2 big ones we do are the Cheese Festival and Livestock.
Yes. And how we all missed Cheese Festival this year.
We missed it, believe me.
I was watching the video and it just took you down memory lane, definitely. And it was just felt so amazing to be there again. Would be awesome. Tracy, tell us about you.
Yeah, so I'm Tracy Lieber. I am the event director for the built environments at DMG Events. I've been in the industry for about 20 years now, and I've been lucky enough to be blessed to have worked internationally as well as locally, and on a wide variety of events, including B2B, C2Cs, and I'm really happy to be here. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tracy. And it's wonderful to see girl power in these technical environments, that's what I must say. And we saw that yesterday as well. And then we've got Cyan from Reed, and she's been there for a while too, with Decorex.
Thanks, Praj. I'm the portfolio director for the lifestyle design and retail exhibition portfolio at Reed. And obviously the Decorex portfolio falls under my team as well as the 100% design and the newly launched Food and Drink Revolution Africa.
Well, that's quite a nice portfolio to deal with. And it's nice having you and Anne on board as well, because we've had very few consumer shows. So Warren felt very lonely yesterday. So I'm glad to get a balance and perspective with the trade and consumer show. So we're excited to hear all about that. And then the thorn amongst the roses today again is Nick. We always have one thorn amongst the roses.
I'd like to rather think about it as the rose amongst the thorns, but that's okay. I'm Nick Zanata. I'm the portfolio director in charge of the food and hospitality events, namely Hostex, what was IFEA, Food and Hospitality Africa, and Markex, which is now the Promo Product Expo, and the light industrial portfolio, which is the KZN Industrial Technology Exhibition, Kite, and Frigidaire.
That's quite an expansive portfolio.
It's not, yes, correct.
Well, you probably have to split up your day because there's so many different industry sectors that you're dealing with as well, right?
Absolutely. So it's very, very much a case of different hats at different times. Put one on, talk to these people, put another one on, which I'm sure everyone, all the other panelists also have with all their different shows that they also do. And I also just wanted to say thanks very much for the opportunity to celebrate Global Exhibitions Day yesterday, Global Exhibitions Week, and to be amongst the rest of these panelists is pretty awesome.
No, thank you all for joining us and giving us your time. I know that everybody is really busy right now. I mean, even though we don't have shows on, interestingly enough, we seem to be busier than ever. And it's giving us that opportunity as well to dig deeper and find new opportunities and new ways of providing value to our clients. So guys, the first question that I have for you is, we talked about this with the other organizers for the other exhibitions, but it's really interesting and it helps us get to know you and your shows on a deeper level. What are some of the highlights for the shows that you work on? If you were to think of a few highlights that you could share with us. Anne, can I start with you?
Yes, you can. I'll just talk about the two main sort of consumer, or the two shows that we do, not talk about the auctions that we do, which are very big. But for Cheese Festival, it's been going, next year will be our 20th year. So that's quite a few highlights. And I think possibly I've lost quite a few down the line. But I think our first highlight is when we actually, and I think it was about the 5th year we were running, I haven't got the exact date, when we sold out our weekend of Cheese Festival. We limit our numbers to 10,000 a day because people come in for the day. They don't just walk through an exhibition and go out again. So they're with us the whole day. And the sellout was quite an amazing highlight for us. And then we had, you asked for 3 of us. So for Cheese Festival, our 15th year anniversary, our 15th year, and that we had, well, almost every event we have for Cheese Festival, we have about 2,000 people waiting for the gates to open. I mean, they come early and they stand and they wait, and we have refreshments outside and everything as a standard. Anyhow, and for the 15th anniversary, we had cakes, cupcakes for everyone. We had balloons. We had a band playing, a drummer band. We had at that stage, he was Minister of Agriculture, and we had there was Alan Windy joining us. We had a band playing, and we all sang Happy Birthday, and the whole crowd joined us. It was really, really fun. And wow. Then the other one, goes to our livestock show, and maybe not so much for the consumer, although I think it is very interesting. We have the biggest interbreed beef cattle class in South Africa, and probably in Southern Africa, where we have 13 to 14 different breeds, and it is just goosebump time to see these magnificent big monster animals that we have a live piper, and he pipes them into the arena, and it is just stunning. So yeah, those are our sort of very different highlights, but that's what I feel at this stage.
Absolutely. But all of those, I mean, they give you those goosebump kind of moments. I can only imagine it's like the Pied Piper piping. It really, really is. I think, your events, it's the experience of being at those events.
Yeah, it's not just about the exhibition, it's the vibe.
Yes, it is that vibe, and unfortunately no online platform can replace that vibe.
Well, we'll see. Wait, and we take that challenge. Wait for October. We'll run Livestock Live, and you'll have a look at that.
Well, we look forward to that. Tracy, what are the highlights for you?
Well, I think African Construction and Totally Concrete has been going for 8 years now, so it's really grown and coming to its own. I think on a bigger scale level, for us, the biggest jump was being acquired by DMG Events and having international pavilions join our show for the first year. And that was, you know, they brought 600 squares onto the floor that we hadn't had before. And I think that was a big scaling jump for us, and it's definitely put us into a different league. So that's one of our biggest highlights. I think in terms of people coming to the show, last year for me was really great because we had the City of Joburg Mayor Herman Mashaba, and I've been in charge of the international pavilions and all the new agents. So for me to be able to bring the mayor across to meet all the dignitaries from the different pavilions was really, it really made me feel as if I had achieved our goal of strengthening relationships and inter-country partnerships. So that was really great. And then this is more of a personal highlight for me, but every year, just before opening, there's probably about 5-10 minutes before opening, we get the drummers down and they come, you know, to the entrance where the ribbon's going to be cut. And when those drums start going and that, you know, the doors are finally open, there's that kind of rush of relief because it's now on its way. And then before you know it, it spits you out again. But I think for me, out of everything in the show, that very, very moment just before the doors open is one of my highlights.
Wow, that is definitely, again, it's those moments that I think give us that adrenaline rush that we all work for, and we, you know, I mean, I'm sure you all get it. Many people, when they think you're in this industry, they think you just work for a few weeks in the year. Just that build up, show days kind of break down, and well, you're probably having a great life in between, doing nothing. But we build up to those events, to those kind of highlights to make it happen. And those moments are just glorious, absolutely glorious. Cyan, I'm sure you have many to share.
Well, I think absolutely one for me and my team was when we won the first AXO Raw Award, when we launched the AXO industry function. Decorex Joburg won the overall exhibition of the year, and that was an absolute highlight for all of us. We were so proud. It was a defining moment of all of our career history, and I think the team and I will never ever forget that night. It was really, really incredible, and we were so grateful to be able to be part of it. And then, as you all know, we were formerly Tebe Exhibitions, and we were bought over by Reed. And that gave us and my portfolio the opportunity to launch an international brand into South Africa, 100% design. And when we launched that show alongside Decorex Joburg, it was a very profound moment for us in the event industry and the design industry. It just gave us a unique selling point. It gave the exhibitors a different type of strategy, a different platform. And it was really a wonderful moment to see a brand that was so admired from a global perspective now being launched in South Africa to have local participation and even African participation. So that was absolutely amazing. And then our Decorex portfolio this year would have been 27 years, but our 21st birthday was amazing. We had an incredible party to celebrate our exhibitors and the people that attended, and the design industry that gave back to us that night was really overwhelming. A lot of the times we often feel ripped apart by exhibitors. I think we all take a lot of flack because they're our clients and we're trying to do the best for them. And that night they gave back to us in the most amazing ways. And it was just amazing to feel that.
Yeah, absolutely. You see, and sometimes we get so busy doing, and we do, and we forget to celebrate those moments. So it's great to be able to stop and celebrate and acknowledge that the contribution that you actually make to your exhibitors. And yes, they have their gripes, and we know their requests can be endless sometimes. But they push us, they push our boundaries, they challenge us. And when it's time to celebrate like that, then you realize that profound effect that you've actually had with them. And yes, I mean, and you guys have a stunning record. So 27 years is an amazing record, and to not have a show this year must be quite heartbreaking.
Devastating, it is, Proj.
Absolutely. Nick, which rose should I call you today?
Yeah, So, I mean, from my side, my highlights really, hospitality runs in my veins. I've been part of hospitality for over 15 years. So, unfortunately, my highlights are going to focus on Hostex and on the show. And so, forgive me, my teams from my other shows. But from a Hostex perspective, you know, not only having been involved in the show here, but for years before that, the inclusion and the involvement of the legend of hospitality, Billy Gallagher, and having him so involved in the show is really a highlight. And having the show be part of his legend is legendary when we look back over the history of the show. And another real highlight for me and for the team is that we're able to give out the Brian Montgomery Award at the show. It's an award that we started. Our founding member, Brian Montgomery, was super passionate about hospitality and all things culinary. So we started this Brian Montgomery Award to give out a bursary, a life-changing bursary to young students. And it's so special to us to be able to deliver something that means so much to someone in the industry. So that's a real highlight, I think, every time we run the show. And for me, the last show that we did, our ambassadors program, was such a great highlight. And stemming from that, the celebration of women in hospitality on the second day of the show this year that we had in March, just before we dodged this pandemic, and having that live streamed throughout while that was happening, our panel of power women in hospitality, having that live streamed, we got messages from all over saying how inspirational that panel was to women in hospitality, and that was a real highlight for me in all my years of being involved in events.
That is truly a history that you began with, having that history and having those phenomenal people that have driven those businesses and, you know, added to the joy of being able to continue this dream and continue this leadership that's been there, and continue that foundation and build on it, is an awesome opportunity for you to continue with that.
Absolutely. And building on what everyone has said over the last 2 days, you know, and I think all of these panels would agree, events don't happen by themselves. It takes a village to raise an event, and it's the countless hours of all of our teams and those you know, we all stand on the shoulders of the giants before us, which is absolutely what you're saying, Progeny.
Absolutely. And then you take it and you continue to build on it, and that's really an awesome opportunity, you know, to be able to build on it. I mean, I don't think we could ever be complacent as an industry. We're constantly pushing boundaries. We're constantly trying to figure out what we can do the next year that was better than the last. And we're constantly responding to our exhibitors and our attendees to figure out, and we're doing our research to find out what worked and what didn't work and how can we make things better. And I think that's what drives us annually. So going on to something lighter now, if I had to ask you, what was the most embarrassing moment now we spoke about the fun stuff, but there's some stuff, let's admit, that do go wrong, right? We know things do happen. And when you attend an event, sometimes you wouldn't even know that anything had gone wrong, because as organizers, you guys do it so smoothly. You fix it. We fixers. We organizers and we fixers. We fix it so smoothly. But and sometimes we don't fix it so smoothly, but thankfully not many people notice. So what are the kind of things that have been really embarrassing? Tracy, I'd like to start with you on this one.
Oh gosh. Okay, so for me, it's a bit of a personal one. We went to Kenya for Totally Concrete, and it was an exhibition and a conference, and we ran it all well, and our exhibitors were great, but we were quite tired after the show had finished. So we were all on our flight home, and the only movie on the plane was Me Before You. And I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, but it makes me ugly cry every time. And it's one that I don't watch at all, ever. And that was the only thing they had on the plane. And I was crying by the time the opening thing started. And I'll never forget, this exhibitor was sitting like 2 rows ahead of me. He actually went to go and fetch a box of tissues and brought it to me. I wanted to die. Oh yeah, that's probably the most embarrassing that's ever happened to me on the show.
Well, there you go. You see, and I'm sure a box of tissues could always be in your Christmas stocking every.
It was so embarrassing. It really was. It was just terrible.
So is it something that everybody at the office rips you off
No,
on?
my colleagues were sitting next to me at the time and couldn't stop giggling because I was uncontrollable. I was so emotional about this stupid thing, and yeah, very embarrassed. But yeah, we made it through, and it was a laugh at the end of the day.
And what can you share with us? I'm sure there's lots of things that happen behind the scenes there.
Yeah, well, this actually wasn't something that happened behind the scenes. It was at Livestock, and we had a whole group of vegans who had managed to infiltrate as normal consumers into the venue and proceeded to, they locked themselves, chained themselves to the fencing next to some cows. And then when I came along, security had called me, they proceeded to throw blood all over me, which we thought was blood, but turned out to be a very similar color, a jelly. So anyhow, there we had to escort this group out, which wasn't very easy. And I was covered head to toe in this sticky, red, gooey mess, which took forever to clean. But yeah, that was, to me, one of the embarrassing moments.
Oh my word. So now is it a prerequisite on the registration form to ask the question, are you vegan? Tick here.
They don't register, but ever since we've thrown them out, they've stayed at the gate and they put up signs, and yeah, we haven't really had a big issue.
So it's peaceful protests now.
Yeah,
It's an
peaceful.
interesting one. I would never.
And it's getting smaller and smaller every year, so it's not a big issue.
Yeah, I would never ever have thought of that. That would have been interesting. And considering that you deal with, especially with the livestock side, you with animals, and I mean, and there's lots of animal lovers. I mean, yesterday we heard about an orangutan being brought onto an exhibition stand, and now somebody asking for a plant. That's because that it could wee, and that's all they required. With you, I'm sure there must be a lot more that you have to think about.
Yeah, I mean, we have the SPCA there at all times. And I mean, you can imagine the other event we do is this auction of the racehorses that we take over the whole of CTICC. Now that's a different one with how do you set up, we bring 300 stables into the venue. So there's lots of stories on that.
How many horses do you have in the venue at that time?
Just under 300. And in fact, we had an EXA AGM while I had it was quite a few years ago, and we had the sale on there. And, it was quite intriguing having EXA and all the organizers coming in. And yeah, you can imagine the smell. I mean, we do work on it, but it does have an animal smell. But, yeah.
Take all the halls then at CTICC.
Yeah, well, of CTICC 1. And then in hall 1, we wine and dine 800 people, and we put the horses up on a stage, and we auction them. So yeah, it's a different.
And how long has that been going for now?
First one was 2011. So yeah,
and it's
quite a while.
And it's grown annually?
It's grown annually, but it's very driven by finances, world economy, because it's an international event where we have buyers from 15 different countries. And we also have African horse sickness protocol, which is for exporting horses. It made it a bit difficult. We seem to, touch wood, be reaching the end of that. So yeah, sidetracked a bit there.
Operationally, I can only imagine, I mean, we're dealing with people, but when doing a combination operationally, I can only imagine the things that you'd have to think about.
Yeah, I mean, you imagine you want to throw a bucket of water out, not to mention the horses having a whittle, so it's lots. And when Joey Pather was still there, we we're very new. We had some guy coming to meet him. I think it was quite a dignitary coming in to see Joey upstairs. And he parked his car and he got out, and we hadn't blocked a certain area, and a whole pile of wet manure landed on top of him that Joey had to buy him a new suit or what, I can't remember. So we've learned a lot more since then.
And we could go on forever with your directing model, for sure.
Yeah.
Cyan, what can you tell us?
Well, one night after a long build-up, we decided to have a bottle of wine, as you do. And one of my clever teammates said, "Oh, look how beautiful and long those aisles look. Let's do some cartwheels." And we decided to proceed after a few bottles of wine and do cartwheels down the aisle. And our creative director pulled a hamstring and could barely walk for the rest of the event. Nevertheless, we've never done that kind of gymnastics in the hall ever again. But yeah, I mean, we come up with some crazy ideas sometimes after build-up, especially when it's long days and you just kind of get crazy and just enjoy it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think after build-up is the key, is the key. Nick, I know you have a few up your sleeve.
Yeah, so I've got a couple that come to mind. One of the early ones for me is, as I joined Specialized, my first event as event director was IFA, and I had come from an environment that was not very much a suit and tie environment. It was more relaxed, and it was my first one as event director, and I had to come like prepared, suit, tie, and I was like, my idea was I'm going to go and I'm going to get the smartest pair of shoes, and I'm going to look like $1 million at this show. And I didn't break the shoes. I think I bought them the day before the show, and I put them on like the morning the show opened. Needless to say that by the third day of the show, I was in flip-flops. I could not walk. I had blisters. I was bleeding from my feet. And everyone was like, that is such a schoolboy error. You never, ever do that. And also at that event as well, that was actually quite a memorable one. I always walk around with a coffee. Like I'm always around like this. And, you know, event people, we always walk with purpose. We're always, you know, we never kind of just amble. We're always going somewhere purposefully. And I learned the reason that they come with lids after that, because also I'm walking very purposefully, and people are coming around corners, not looking where they're going, and always into me, and I've just ended up with coffee all over me. So yeah, now it's never new pair of shoes and a couple of shirts for change. And then the last one is also never leave your laptop unlocked without a password at the show, in the organizer's office, because you've got sneaky team members who can get into your laptop and start sending each other emails as though they are you, and they start commenting on how they look today versus how you look today, and they're calling you hot stuff, and someone might be just about to be getting engaged, which was me, and I'm in a meeting and I'm looking at this email sent from myself to another team member saying, you look really good, and I'm like, what is going on? I'm not sending these emails. So yeah, passwords on laptops, never leave your laptop unattended, never new shoes and shirts in good supply.
Well, we either teaching some people some really, really interesting new tricks. So guys, do watch out what your team members are going to be doing after Nick's stories here. And well, you know, I think between you and Sven, Nick, I don't know who takes the award there. You know, spiral staircases or flip-flops.
Well, I'm now of the ilk. I'm now suits and sneakers guy. I'm no longer, I don't even do smart shoes anymore. It doesn't matter what show I'm at. If I'm at a show in the United Kingdom or the US, it is suits and sneakers. I don't do smart shoes anymore.
Well, talking about build-up and sneakers and what we do and what we like to do, we want to hear a little bit from the people that are watching us. We've got a poll for you. We want to know, what do we want to know? Like Cyan said, sometimes there's some interesting stuff that happens after a long day at the show. So what do you generally like to do? Do you go straight home after a show day, or build up or breakdown, whatever? Do you go straight home, or do you like to go for a night out? Or do you like to have a drink at the organizer's office before you go home? So what do you and your teams do? So all you have to do is choose one. And sometimes I know there's multiple opportunities, but we're giving you one. So night out with your team, go straight home, or drinks at the organizer's office. If you guys would all select and submit, let's see what is the most popular in the industry. Sean, if you don't mind, we didn't ask this question, but since Nick has brought it up, I would also like to ask that question about what is most popular. Did we ask that question, Sean, about heels or flats or pumps? I mean, heels or flats or sneakers? We'd like to ask that one as well. So Sean's going to give us the results from that, and we'll ask the other poll as well as soon as he finds it. So you guys can think about that. And if we haven't given you an option about what you guys like to do, if none of the options we've given you is the one you like to do, then you're welcome to add it on the chat. So the most popular thing that everybody does is drinks at the organizer's office at 52%. 28% of people go straight home, and 20% of people watching, they just like a night out if they have the energy. That's an interesting one. So yes, drinks at the office is really, really popular. But again, and I'm going to always go back to, you know, that non-alcoholic tequila. Oh, see, somebody's just said here, Nick, you've got to do pink Crocs to avoid the blisters. Not new
Never
shoes.
Crocs. Never, ever Crocs. Rather barefoot. 2 pairs of smart shoes before pink Crocs. 2 pairs.
Exactly. And I heard the other day another tip about somebody having 3 pairs of shoes as backups. So there's a tip, and maybe after Anne's experience, you never know what's going to happen. A spare outfit or 2 might be helpful too. All right, so let's move on to the next question. Right, I'm going to go back to the one that has been interesting, and we've had so many, and I'm putting you on the spot again here, but don't feel obliged to list 3. You're welcome to list more if you have more. But we want to talk about the suppliers in the industry, and I know lots of them are watching, and they're just checking out those, what are you about to say now? And everybody's trying to be politically correct. But you know what? Like we said, the suppliers are part of our ecosystem. They're people that we cannot do without. We cannot put our shows on without them. And we're rooting for them right now. And we know that they're going to be coming out with some amazing stuff to help us keep in line with the new safety protocols that we're going to have to follow as soon as we get back online. So if I had to ask you, which would be your top suppliers that you cannot do without? Cyan, I'm going to start with you.
As you say, Proj, I think, you know, we've got to give our hands off to our suppliers. I mean, they are incredible, every single one of them. But if I had to choose 3, just from a team perspective of who really goes over and above to really help us out. I mean, you know, we are a small team, mostly girls on site. So for me, the number 1 is definitely L'Oreal. We use them in Cape Town and in the Joburg show, and nothing is ever too much for them. They will literally bend over backwards. They will stay as late as we stay. They won't let us go home without them going home. They are just unbelievable. And that's obviously Jerome heading up that company, and they're just phenomenal. We love them. They're part of our family, and they really just go over and above. And then obviously, from a security perspective, we always feel safe with Lodge. So thanks to Stephen and Terence and his team, wonderful to work with them. We use them across all our events in our portfolio, and they're just a great company to work with, always obliged to help, change things on site. If we're not feeling safe, if exhibitors are ever taking advantage, or visitors, they jump in. Just really, really great. And then of course, Expo guys, we would have no show without them building the structure. And their team also goes over and above for us, and we're really grateful for everything that they do. So thanks to all the suppliers, really.
Absolutely. No, yeah, I mean, they've come up quite a few times over the past few days, and they hit the spot for many people. Anne, who would you like to share with us?
Yeah, it is a difficult one, because to choose 3 out of this family that we've built up through the years is very difficult. But
you can extend out of the 3. I'm going to allow it. Since it's the last day, go for it.
Okay. Number one, I'd say, is my security team at CP Security, who in Cape Town, well, they are based in Cape Town, but when we move and do an event in another province, I actually fly about 6 or 7 of them up with us, just as a backup to us. They become part of our team. But I mean, they multitask. They do the security and safety. They do the parking for us. They handle the parking. During build-up, they help paint panels. They help clean up things. And if we're short-staffed, we can put them, because they're more event people than security, we'll put one behind the counter and he will run and answer all the questions. So yeah, they're part of the family. And then our medics. For our consumer show, you can imagine having 10, 12,000 people all at once at an event like Cheese Festival. You can imagine the things that happen. And we've got Blue Star medical team, and they are absolutely fantastic. Really, we've had heart attacks, we've had really severe accidents, and Blue Star have jumped in. And then my AV team, Sense AV, is absolutely fantastic. Again, go the extra mile, come up with solutions last minute. And you said I could add another one, and that's GL. GL also, part of it, we've used them for about 15, 16 years, and the Cape Town crew are phenomenal. All sorts of forklifts and things which we're not working inside, we're working outside. You can imagine the challenges riding forklifts on grass, but they just are part of the family and go the extra mile and give us what we want, even though we've never scripted it. So yeah, and there are a lot more guys that are out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know they always feel like an extension of the family, and you're right, especially when you're going into a new province, particularly. It's just nice to have them come with you, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it makes life so much easier. Tracy, you've been very quiet, so let's hear from you.
I agree with everybody. I think in terms of suppliers, they are an extension of your team, and they do become part of the family. And I think for us, and I know that my ops team will definitely agree with me when I say there are some stellar peeps out there who really stand out from the crowd. And for us, it has to go to our account managers at GL Events, Kevin and Liesel. Fact is, we don't travel anywhere without them. I think they know how we work so well. It's a well-oiled machine. You know, they think like us, they know how we work. So having them on site is really a huge comfort to us. And as I said, if Liesel and Kevin aren't there, it's just not the same. So it's down to people. I agree with Cyan. Jerome from Laranel and his team, they are spectacular. There's nothing too big, too small. And I know that especially when our ops teams are on site, they really are the support that they need. And in terms of getting people out the halls in an orderly fashion, they are the ones to beat. They really do know how to do their job properly. And then in terms of our bigger events, there's Etienne and Vincent from D&G. I mean, Etienne, I know he's left D&G now, but he really, that company, they're there on site for us most of the time, and nothing's too big or too small. And they always calm us down in a minute of panic, you know, when you need to bring in more screens and add a bigger stage, which seems to happen. But then there's also, you know, we've also got to thank our peeps at the venues. I see that Caitlin is on the call. So Caitlin and Sunny Key and the guys from Gallagher, you know, they do a really good job in helping us as well. So it does take a village to make an exhibition work, and we love our suppliers.
You're on mute, Rog. You're on mute.
Absolutely. Sorry, there's somebody across the road that's doing some construction. Sorry about that. But yes, absolutely, we cannot do without our suppliers. And I think those ones that you mentioned as well, I mean, like you're saying, we've seen the common links coming up across all the show organizers. And I think the reason they are those common links is because of the consistency. You know, they're consistent year on year. They're consistent. Their service levels, their delivery, it is consistent, and it gives you a sense of comfort that you know that that part of your event is sorted. It's one of those things that you don't have to put out fires or anything of that sort. Nick, up to
Thanks,
you.
Progeny. Yeah, and so it's so hard, as everyone said, and as the chair's allowed a couple more, I'm going to take a couple of liberties. And I know that Sven and Charlene covered most of the spread before, but from a Hostex perspective, and I know that they get, I don't know if they're on, but they get so much flack, is SA Plumber. From our exhibitors, we have such a heavy requirement on plumbing, and nearly every single interaction with an exhibitor on Hostex is, where is the plumbing? Why am I losing pressure? And they are on the floor putting out fires for the whole show. So SA Plumber, absolutely for Hostex. ZF Cleaning, I mean, at a food show, where people are tasting samples and drinking samples and throwing things away, and people are cooking things, the amount of mess. Look, I don't think we have anything on a show with 300 stables. But the ZF Cleaning absolutely are essential, and GL Events as well. Also, can always rely on them. And from a Hostex perspective as well, I mean, Strat PR, the team at Strat PR, absolutely essential in helping us deliver. And I'm going to just quickly, the venues and our reg suppliers. Yeah, it's so hard to just choose them, but they absolutely make a part of who we are as the team that deliver the events.
Wonderful, thank you. And yes, a big shout out to all our suppliers, like all our panelists have mentioned throughout the week. We cannot say thank you enough and honor you on our on Global Exhibitions Day and our celebrations this week. You make our shows happen, and you allow us to do our jobs as successfully as possible. And my next question, and I want to start with you, is because I think you just, those stories that are coming from that side. Now, all of you think about this. We have some, and we spoke about this earlier as well when we talk about interesting exhibitors and the pressure that our exhibitors put on us to deliver. So what are some of the strange requests you've had from either visitors and or exhibitors? We've all had some strange requests, and you've heard some of them this week, but I'm sure you have your own stories to tell. So Anne, let's start with you.
On the exhibitor's side, it was actually one of the most difficult questions for myself and my team to try and answer, but the one comes to mind comes from livestock, where an exhibitor arrived with a cow on what it was actually a bull on the back of her in a trailer, a big trailer, and it was a Chianina, which is the biggest breed of cattle in the world. It's an Italian breed. And she got there and she said, well, he's not halter trained, but can we help her offload? So he wasn't halter trained. We had to bring him into the venue. So we had to move this poor animal from truck to trailer, from another trailer to another trailer, and eventually my guys' fantastic team got him into the place, the stable that he had to go into. But then, as far as the visitors are concerned, consumer, well, a cheese festival is a very different one. We have Stellenbosch University. They have taken over a day of our event. And we have students coming from Potchefstroom and Bloemfontein, you name it, they bring buses down. So you can imagine the stories. But the funniest one we had was our CEO was leaving the event, and he went to his car and he was talking to security or someone, and the next thing he looked, and there was this guy sitting in his vehicle. Anyhow, they managed to get him out, and they said, who are you? No, he didn't know. They brought him to the show office. He didn't know who he was, he didn't know who he'd been with, and he didn't know where he lived. Now, what do you do with someone who's just there? So we put him to bed on the floor in the information office, and thanks to CP security, he had sort of sobered up enough that by 12 o'clock, he'd remembered his mother's name. So Facebook searching through his mother, and then we managed to, it was a long story. So we found, he'd lost his cell phone, but eventually we found out who he belonged to, and we managed to get in contact with family who came and picked him up at 3 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, there's lots more stories, but that to me is, who am I? Where do I live? That was funny. Yeah. Yeah, you're offline, progeny.
There we go. As long as you didn't have to babysit the bull overnight.
No. Well, that's also been funny. Where back in the good old days at Biendon at Cheese Festival, we used to, well, we still do, we have what we call the milk factory. And we have different animals who produce milk. And we've had animals getting loose and security catching them and putting, and we've got to sort out who belongs to who. And it's great fun using animals as well in an event. So, yeah.
Tracy, what do you have to share?
Well, mine's definitely not as humorous as that, but I have had an exhibitor ask me for super glue so she can glue her toenail back on. So, yeah, that's pretty special. Unfortunately, I didn't have any at the time.
She probably had new shoes like Nick.
Oh, probably.
Yeah. So was that an exhibitor?
Yes, an exhibitor, yeah.
And your attendees are all well behaved? No special requests from them?
You know, most of them, it's always trying to get into VIP. Like, where is my ticket? I'm supposed to be in the VIP award ceremony, and where is it? It should have been in the post. Don't you know who I am? Kind of thing. So those are always
organizer. That's generally the
bloody to deal with. I've had people say they are media and they should be in that room, and do they know? Our best one was she arrived. I can't remember the lady. She arrived and she said she owns Gallagher, and her family own Gallagher, and she will have this thing closed down immediately if we don't let her into that conference. So they come up with good stories.
Wow. Nick, you look like you're bursting at the seams.
I'm dying. These stories I couldn't contain myself. The story, I mean, to not know your name or where, wow, that's just on another level. We've had, from a visitor at this year's show, we had a chef competitor arrive at the organizer's office, full chef's whites, with his toolbox ready to compete in his competition. And he comes to us and says, "I'm here for my competition." And we go, "Sir, which competition is that?" And he says, "I don't know. I was invited to the competition." And we said, "Can you tell us who invited you?" "No, I can't tell you." "Do you have an invitation on your phone?" "No, I don't have an invitation on my phone. I was just told to come here and be part of the competition." We said, "Okay, could you just tell us a name of a contact, someone we can take you to their stand? Is it a?" No, he had no idea. He was just there I just walked him around and said, "Could it be this one?" We don't know. Hopefully he found his competition. We don't know. So that was pretty funny from a visitor's side. And then from an exhibitor's side, I mean, we didn't get anyone asking to glue their toenails with super glue back on, but it baffles me when we get requests from exhibitors when they arrive for build up and they ask, as you're walking around, "Sorry, don't you have some tape? Don't you have a screwdriver? Don't you have a pair of scissors? Don't you have and I'll always go, "Sure, hold on, I have a screwdriver right." No, sorry, I just find it, it baffles me how they arrive without the things that they need.
Yeah, that is interesting. Side, you nodding away there because you get lots of these requests, I'm assuming.
Yeah, all the time. I think the funniest one for ours was we host a cooking theatre at Decorex, and we always have a sponsor that kind of sponsors it. And the one year my project manager was on the stand just helping to make sure everything was fine, and the chef was coming in to do the demonstration, and everyone loved it. It was amazing. And then we said to the exhibitor, "We're just going to get the cleaners to come through and clean the dishes and make sure everything's fine." He's like, no, it needs to be done now." Yeah, no problem. It's going to be done now. We're just going to go and get them. No, you need to do it right now. Demanding that my project manager sit there and wash all the dishes and clean the entire theatre. Would not wait 2 minutes for the cleaner to come on the stand. So I walk past and I see this poor child there scrubbing all the dishes, washing all the dishes. I said, "So what's going on?" And she said, No, I just needed to keep that exhibitor happy. He was very, very cross. So what we do for our exhibitors to make them happy. And then from a visitor perspective, very similar to Tracy as well, arriving at the show, I think the funniest is at Gallagher 2 weeks after our show, we have the SARCTA exhibition, and people will arrive with SARCTA tickets. And we say, it says, "Welcome to Decorex." It's Decorex, there's signage everywhere. No, but she has my ticket. Okay, but you can't because you need to be in 2 weeks' time. Otherwise, I'm always the VIP, or I always get a complimentary ticket from Decorex. Okay, how do you normally get? Oh no, I just get one. Okay, do you want to explain how? Maybe, and then we can just kind of investigate and see if you're on the complimentary list. No, every year they just send them to me. So it's just, I think, visitors trying to chance their luck and trying to get in and be desperate, I suppose.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I think all of these stories, sometimes they might drive some of us to drink. And that's my next poll, guys. We want to know from all of you, when you finish the show at the end of the day, after all of this has happened, needing to find and redirect people because they come into the wrong event. Oh, do you know, I have to share this one. Sorry, we had one of the years, we had, like you, 2 shows 2 weeks apart, but this was next door. We were at the ICC and at Durban Expo Center. So we've got Baby Expo, and at Durban Expo Center, we had Sexpo happening at the same time. And we had people coming to our registration to come inside our show with the Sexpo ticket. So we had to quite swiftly say, well, guys, listen, you have to start on that side of the road in order to make it to this side first. So, it was a little bit of an explanation. I don't know why. They saw the Barney sign and everything, and they still didn't get it. Okay. But anyway, after all of this, we do need a drink. So what is your favorite choice of drink, guys? All of you that are watching, we'd like to know. So at the end of a day, what is your favorite alcoholic beverage after show days? Wine, beer, hardtack, and we've got tequila. So which is your favorite? Choose one and you can submit. Right, and then once we have that, let's see, I hope you've all submitted. Our panel, you can also submit. I know you all have your favorites, and Sean's gonna reveal the answers to us just now. Yes. We've heard about this non-alcoholic tequila, but yes, it's a speciality in some people's offices and some groups. I think it's a group thing. We have wine teams and we have tequila teams and we have Red Bull teams, we've heard as well. So tell us, what is yours? Most popular, and that came out yesterday as well, 50% of you saying wine is your favorite, especially if you can sit in a long bath and have a long hot bath and soak with your glass of wine. That's really great. Second one being tequila. Well, that's an interesting one. I'm glad you added that, Sean. At 30%, hardtack, your spirits at 11%, and beer at 9%. That's quite interesting. That's why they're throwing beer down the drain, because nobody wants beer anymore, hey? Anyway, nice to know. If we haven't selected your favorite, please add it in the chat box. Oh, there we go. Somebody likes bubbly. Coffee. Okay, we did do coffee, guys. We do know that coffee is your staple during the day, coffee and tea. Okay, and bubbly, yes, but the soft drinks. Okay, we haven't included soft drinks. Where are the soft drinks, Sean? Sean, you're getting a lot of flack here. And Sean added the favorites because Derek says, added the tequila to the favorites because he said it was Sean's favorite. Sean is hiding in the background. So guys, you can't see him if you don't know who we're talking about. He's doing our technical today. And G&Ts, right, that is true. Big ones, yes, Nick, definitely big ones. And we have a whole choice. So anybody wants to spoil us all, we know what our choices are. So guys, we're gonna move on to the next question. And the question that I have for you is, given the current circumstances that we're all going through right now, and I know, Anne, you went through this earlier and you did it really quickly. I'd love to hear. You know, the big talk is about hybrid events, right? Do you think it's feasible? How do you think it fits into our events going forward? Can it work? Can't it work? What are the flaws do you think the system has? And I mean, we all live for face-to-face. We know that. I know that you all feel very passionately about that. So Anne, I'm going to start with you.
Well, we actually had a debate about this yesterday because obviously, you know, we're looking forward. And yes, to do webinars is great now, and it's helping us out But I think it's also possibly now overexposed. People are getting a bit tired. So if you're going to go virtual, you've really got to pull the rabbit out the hat and do a fantastic show. But I do think there is a way to bring the virtual into a real live event. It's a difficult one that you've got to say that you don't do too much coverage virtually so that your visitors don't say, well, I'm not going to come and buy a ticket and come into your event. But it's also a nice way to incorporate, you know, your speakers or your judges or whatever. You can have them virtually attending that if they're coming in from long distances overseas. You could save a hell of a lot on that. So it's a difficult one. I personally prefer the one-on-one, but yeah,
it is a difficult one. It really, really is. Especially because we live for that face-to-face, and we know that it drives us all. I mean, if you look at everybody after lockdown, just the need to be in contact with people and experience things again. There was, like I said earlier when I did an interview, it's that innate human nature that we all have. Cyan, how do you feel about hybrid?
It was a difficult one for us to kind of get our heads around. We are currently in the middle of launching a full-on virtual event for our flagship show in August. And we've done some really, really cool research and initiatives and really looked at it in a way to give back to our industries, because as much as the event industry is suffering, our design industry and built industry is suffering hugely as well. And for us, we are now trying to position ourselves to give back to them and give them the opportunity and the platform to get some kind of value from this year that has been laid upon us, unfortunately. I definitely feel that with the research that we've done in this campaign that we are embarking on, we will be carrying it forward alongside the live events. As Anne said, which is very important for us as organizers, not to give too much from a digital and virtual perspective and not get the quality and the key kind of attendees that we need at the show. So that will be our next step, is how we navigate through that. But I think as much as we do drive our events on content, I think it's an awesome opportunity for us to look at new types of content and get content out there from a virtual perspective. And I think we should be embarking on this year, because people are in need of this type of information. Our exhibitors are needing people to interact with them, have decent kind of meetings, be able to explore their kind of offerings on virtual platforms. So I think it's important for us to still be able to give that platform this year, even if it is just virtual.
Absolutely. Yeah, and like you said, I mean, we all know about Decorex, and I think it's been around, and I know many exhibitors that exhibit on Decorex as well, and it is crucial to them. I mean, they rely so heavily on the leads from your show to help them go on for the rest of the year. It is a vital element, and that not happening really now for them to try and figure out how else, in what other way am I going to get in touch with that same audience that would have come to Decorex. And you're the key to that, I think, and that virtual and that you're going to bring through would be the key to allowing them to sustain themselves until your next event.
Absolutely, Proj, and if they can't sustain themselves, we don't have an event next year. So I think it's very important for us to do the honorable thing, give back to our industry that supported us for so many years in order to keep the brand alive going forward.
Absolutely. Tracy, where are you guys on this?
I think from our perspective, we really do feel like digital events are a support to the main live event. I don't think it will replace it at all. I don't think that's the case. However, I do think that through crisis comes innovation, and it has made us look at the way we engage on a continuing basis with our clients, and it's almost giving us an additional opportunity that we didn't have before, or we didn't tap into before, to keep that engagement going throughout the year, to get that exposure and that relationship, continuing that relationship through the year. So as Cyan's saying, it is a great opportunity for us to give our clients visibility and strengthen relationships and make us a more trusted brand, in that we are wanting to give back and make sure that they make it through this trying time, because a lot of our sectors have been hit quite hugely. So for us, it really is important for our content to speak to what's relevant to our audience, and for them to strengthen their relationship with us throughout the year before the live event. And that live event is really the kind of culmination of everything, whereas the digital events will support that.
Absolutely. And Tracy, do you think going forward that you'll continue that little part of the virtual in all your events?
Yes, I think we will. I think it's you know, as I said, you know, innovation through crisis, because we've come up with these ideas now where we've almost been forced to do new things. We've been forced to think differently. And even just this morning, I got a fantastic email from a supplier who have now actually gone online to make people able to create their own virtual stands, which is amazing. We haven't had that before. So you know, I think it's great, and I think virtual is here to stay. But as I said, as a complement, I don't think it will ever replace the face-to-face live events.
Absolutely. And I think we all have to be very careful in how we complement our events with the virtual element. Yes, you know, I mean, it's a huge cost saving if you're trying to bring out a speaker versus having them on a virtual platform. Those kind of savings are, you know, really, really great. But again, it's that experience of being able to interact with that person. You've got a way out, and obviously it has to be financially viable to everybody as well. Nick, what about you?
Thanks, Project. Yeah, I think, you know, I think as an industry, if I think back to the UFI conference in 2017 in Joburg, I think already then it was a big topic at that conference was, you know, this concern that digital is going to overtake face-to-face, and how are we as an industry, what are we doing to be prepared for that, and how can we include it? And as Tracy Lee said, you know, necessity drives innovation, and since those conversations in 2017, and as an industry globally, there's been conversations about how do we include digital to add value to events? Do we worry about it? Do we take events virtual? And not to say that not much has happened since then, but I think we haven't been forced into this, like, now we have to think differently. And now, absolutely, necessity drives innovation. And that's where we're going to see now for the next 8 months, 10 months, innovation coming out of how we can add value. And absolutely, a hybrid event with digital must add value to a face-to-face event. You know, I think we as event organizers and as an event industry need to own the narrative. You know, we need to own the narrative, and whatever narrative we are driving forward, whether we're driving a digital message, you know, we need to be aware of what narrative we drive, to not take away, obviously not take away from our face-to-face efforts, add value to those face-to-face efforts, add value to the industries and the communities that we serve. And you know, whether it's a digital event like San is doing and giving back to the community, but making sure that we add value to whatever community we are part of through hybrid events.
Absolutely. And like you're saying, I think it's, like you've all said, it's fast-tracked us for sure.
And sorry, Praj, one thing I just want to say as well is, you know, we've also, in these conversations, we've said our worry is that digital will overtake face-to-face. And a larger discussion has been, if it was going to, it more than likely would have in the last kind of year, 2 years, especially now. And as Anne said, you know, people have got webinar fatigue, people have got all these things. So it's really just about how we bolt the two together to add value to face-to-face.
Agreed. Yeah, I think it's fast-tracked us, but it's not overtaken. I think that's important. And finding the best medium and the best way in which it will complement your event is ideal. And yes, it's forced us to think of opportunities that exist within our own businesses and our own shows that we never knew, that realized was there. This moment allowed us to do that. And I think, you know, I was reading, they talk about the word crisis. It's not a crisis does not mean the end of the world. It's not something that is just doom and gloom. Crisis originates actually from a Greek word, and the Greek word actually means decision, to decide. And that's what crisis pushes you forward to do, to make those decisions, to find the opportunities within. You know, it galvanizes you into a new place. And that's what we all need to take advantage of right now, I think. And I think we talking to each other and sharing also helps to find the right suppliers. Obviously, that's key. If we want to do virtual, finding the right suppliers so that it doesn't fail our events. So it's not to the detriment of our events. That's equally important. I know there's lots of suppliers out there, and we all need to really, really be very careful in making sure we do a proper analysis of their offering, so that we don't have any large mistakes that are going to be to the detriment of our event. So before we go on, thank you for that. Before we go on, we're almost at the end. I wanted to ask our audience one more question. And this was Nick who inspired this one. He said, you know, pre-COVID, now we're not talking about going forward because we know going forward what you're going to be doing. But pre-COVID, what was your favorite way of greeting your exhibitors when you were on site? You know, was it a fist bump? Was it a handshake? Was it a wave? Was it a big hug? Sean's going to put that poll up. So there it is, a wave from a distance, or a high five. Those are also popular. So choose, what was your favorite way of most of your exhibitors? I know some need hugs, some's a handshake. What was your favorite way? Let us know. Fist bump, handshake, hug, wave from far, high five. So Sean's going to give us those results. Nick, what did you do, Nick, during those times?
So I was pre-COVID social distancing greeting before it was a thing. Elbows or fist bumps for the win, always.
And what about you? Sorry, your mic, Anne?
I think sort of hugs and you know, yeah, I think with most of our exhibitors have been around with us for a long time. It's sort of seeing old friends, yeah.
Exactly. It's like seeing old friends. Tracy?
For the exhibitors that we know, definitely hugs. But for those who are still new, it's not a way.
And you, Cyan?
Definitely hugs as well. As Anne said, it's like seeing family.
See, it's going to be so difficult for us. There we go. And that just shows, look, hugs came in second, though, at 40%. Handshake being the preferred way of greeting at 55%. 0% were doing high fives. Wave from a distance, 2%, and fist bump at 2%. Wow, that's going to be an interesting change, we have to admit, right? It's really, really going to test us all. It is the most difficult thing when you're used to hugging people to not hug. It's like you have to just remind yourself, like, it's going to be a change, but a new habit. They say it takes 21 days to make a habit sit. So lastly, guys, before we end off, I'd like to ask you all, what is the most rewarding things about your jobs? Why are you in this industry? What do you find most rewarding? Sai, can we start with you?
Sure, Praj, I think it's, I've never been in an industry that changes so dynamically all the time. And I think nothing that we do is the same on a daily basis. We've got a sign up in our office saying, love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. And that's honestly how we feel within my team. We're completely passionate. We believe in the event industry. We believe in the design industry. And just seeing it all come together, I'm getting goosebumps now even. Seeing it all come together on site when you walk in that morning after the last night of build up, and especially on a show like Decorex where you leave and you literally want to die because it's so dirty and people are still building and it's horrible, and you come in and it's beautifully clean and all the exhibitors are done and you wait for those people to come in. There's nothing better. It's theatrical, it's ever changing. And I think giving back to our exhibitors and seeing how exhibitors have built their businesses by being on events like ours is also incredibly rewarding. We're building industries together, which is phenomenal.
Absolutely. Tracy, what about you?
I have to agree there completely. I think for us, it is about being able to see live in action all your goals and kind of objectives come to life. You see those exhibitors doing big deals on the floor and changing smaller businesses as well. Just in terms of our smaller shows, when you get a small guy who's never exhibited before, he decides to take the plunge and spend the bucks, get onto the floor, and he walks away with millions rands worth of opportunities, which is fantastic. That's really where you feel like you're making a difference. But I think for me, the sweet spot of it all is really the people, our teams. And I think for me, that's always the highlight, that I've been blessed to have great teams that I've worked with.
Absolutely. Anne, what about you? Your mic for me.
I think to agree with Tracy, working with your teams and you're building up 3, 4, 6 months, however long it is, depending on how many events you're doing, is seeing it culminate to this beautiful layout that you've produced, and then opening the doors at a cheese festival. I don't think I haven't seen another event like this one, where our entrance is slightly above the level of the event. So we have, as I say, these 2,000 people that are waiting and waiting, and it's like a big countdown. And as we open up and we pre-scan everyone, as we open up the doors and we push through those 2,000 people in literally 5-10 minutes, and to see their look of absolute awe at how big that event is, that just makes it for me. Yeah, it's great. And obviously seeing the sort of artisanal exhibitor becoming this big company that supplies the Woolworths and the Checkers and massive, so that growth of your friends is great. So wow. Yeah,
that's amazing. It's such a nice feeling. It's heartwarming. Nick.
Thanks, Progeny. Yeah, it sounds like, when I close out here after the roses before me, it will sound like we've all kind of planned our way forward on what we're going to say. But I don't have any kids, but I feel like I have 6 kids through my events. It's like from a piece of paper, an idea, and we creatively work on something, and it's born and it lives its life, and it becomes a teenager through build up, and it reaches maturity in the days of the show, and then unfortunately it goes away as we break down. And for me, one of the biggest rewards is seeing all of that go from just a conversation or an idea that you put down, and watching it come to life and live its life, and then go away, to me is hugely, massively rewarding. And the other thing is, again, having come from hospitality and being all around the world with chefs all around the world, and listening to the stories that they tell each other of how they met at Scott Hot in 1968, and they formed a lifelong friendship that has lasted them 40 years, or that they were at such and such competition, at such and such show, and being able to offer that same platform or opportunity for people to form those same relationships at my events, at our events, is massively rewarding. I already now, in the short time that I've been in the industry, over 5 to 6 years, already people are coming to me and go, yeah, I know, I met this guy at this show, and we're now doing this, and that is massively rewarding, to be able to be assisting in forming people's memories that last forever, which is massive.
Oh, absolutely. I think we all agree with all of you. It's just, it drives us. It really, really drives us, this industry. And like you're saying, just being able to plan it, and then when you see it come to life, it's that feeling that it gives you, and knowing the impact that you've had on business, on growing businesses, and helping people that come to your show from the attendee perspective, and the value that they get from that is enormous. And I'd love for us to be able to eventually, as an industry, get some research done to measure this ripple effect that we have on the economy, which is really, really underrated, I believe, at this point in time. But guys, thank you so much. I know to all of you we're watching, we've run over time, but this discussion has been so engaging, so interesting, with so many stories that we couldn't help ourselves. So please forgive me for keeping you that long. It's been wonderful having you all join us all week long. It's been a great week to celebrate Global Exhibitions Day with all these amazing people and behind these amazing events that contribute to our industry. We're working very hard with new safety protocols with our Event Safety Council. So yes, those are going to be challenging, but knowing the kind of people that are in this industry, I know that you will rise to the occasion. It's always safety first for all of us. So it won't be a difficult task. Yes, it will be an adjustment. I do understand that. But we're working behind the scenes. We're working really hard for the reopening of our industry so that we can start somewhere and slowly build up again, so that our suppliers can be able to work again, so that our venues can be active, so that we do have suppliers and venues that we can go back to when our events do come alive. So thank you. If you've tweeted, if you've posted, please check our hashtags out and repost it. The more we get out there, the more we'll be heard, and the better for our industry as a whole, to highlight our industry and the good work that it does, and to ensure that people understand that we work under safety regulations and we are accountable to all the people and all our stakeholders that we work with. So happy Global Exhibitions Day to all of you. Thank you for participating, and watch out, we've got some other webinars planned down the line at the end of the month, and it will be relevant to you, talking about things that will help you during this time and moving forward. So thank you, guys.
Rajini, I think just before we go, I think from all of us, all the panelists, we'd like to say thank you very much for putting this together. I don't know if you all agree with me, but I feel like we are part of an industry who's standing together. And I think it's largely due to AXO and your efforts. So thank you very, very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Look, you always need the support. And if we have your support, we can do amazing things together, you know, because we're just passionate, and it's about driving that passion forward. And I'm really passionate about our industry, and I will continue to sing that song. So if you will join me, I would love it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Raj.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.